Hello, America. Big Lou here, March 23rd, 2021. Now, Tuesday is generally my day to play golf, and I play with an 85-year-old gentleman who has one glass eye, two hip replacements, one knee, two hearing aids, and a little bit of forgetfulness, if you will. But God bless him. I call him my Jewish golf father. He gets out there and swings the clubs, and I have a lot of admiration for his tenacity and his attitude and outlook in life. And playing with my good friend Sonny every week helps me keep my own life into perspective. Well, our round got cut short today because we had a couple of sprinkles and we decided that we'd had enough. And so on my way home, I found out a very distressing thing back in my hometown of Rochester, New York. Now, for those of you who know me, you know I love my hometown. I love the people there, and I've always been an advocate of our community, and I still am. And even though I'm not a resident there anymore, I still feel like that's my home. And when I heard that the only major grocery store left within the city boundaries, Wegmans, which, by the way, is consistently named as one of the best grocery stores in America year after year after year, was closed down because Black Lives Matter protesters converged on the store and would not allow over 100 shoppers to leave the building in protest for a decision that came down that a grand jury decided not to indict police officers in an, an event that took place earlier this year. A young man, Daniel, who was arrested, and during the arrest and being subdued, he died. Now, the details around that incident are very sad, and it's terrible that this young man had to die that way. By the same token, the wheels of justice eventually cleared the arresting officers, or at least didn't find enough evidence to prosecute. As a result, there's a group of people who claim to um, support the notion that our police in Rochester, New York, are part of a block of individuals who are systemically racist, which confuses me to begin with because the whole notion of systemic racism doesn't even make any sense to me. So, to me, when you say systemic racism, that means that an entire system is, by virtue of its existence, is racist. And logically, it doesn't compute for me. Racism is a bad thing. And I think that people who harbor racist thoughts and act in a racist way are troubled individuals as well. They should never be allowed to espouse their actions and their beliefs on other people. I think that's wrong. And I was raised that way. We didn't really understand racism in our family because everybody had to be treated the same way, um, because God looked on all of us for the misdeeds that we um, ever committed. Now, the thing that really confuses me is that in 2021, that we don't have a solution for dealing with this kind of social interruption. When people's rights are infringed on, meaning shoppers who are just going about their daily deeds, in trying to live their lives in what has been shown to be a very challenging time because we're up against the pandemic, if you will, uh, and people have had to give up a lot in order to do that. Just to live a normal life, they've had to sacrifice a lot of things. Going to the grocery store is not today what going to the grocery store was just a year ago. So any impediment on that just doesn't make any sense to me. So the individuals perpetrating this peaceful protest are doing that to be punitive and to hurt other people. And those other people are just as innocent as perhaps the young man who lost his life. And where I come from, two wrongs don't make a right. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to address each individual activity in a right and just manner. So just as that individual who gave up his life for whatever reason there was, um, must be given some consideration. And the incident was very public, and it's been publicized nationally. So here I am living 2,500 miles from my hometown in Rochester, New York, and the first thing I hear about my hometown, which I love, um, is that this crazy incident has turned the city upside down. Well, what can we do? Well, here's what we can do. We can look towards those individuals and try to have a conversation. And if they're doing something wrong, we need to make them stop doing that. We do not need to make them think it's okay to interrupt other people's lives because you're upset with something. Because what you're doing is childish. You're stamping your feet and you're crying and screaming because you didn't get your way. Well, if you're going to act like children, then you need to be treated like children. So now the tools that we use today for going about solutions are different than they were when I was a kid. We did something wrong in my family. There was such a thing as a wooden spoon. Okay, we knew what that was. Well, a wooden spoon doesn't work anymore. No different than a screwdriver does. Now everybody's got a power screwdriver, automatic screwdriver instead of a hand screwdriver. So we need different tools. The wooden spoon's not going to work anymore. But the notion of the wooden spoon will work. And maybe it's a conversation. Maybe there are different types of accountability that need to be dealt out in as a solution for this. But the people that are perpetrating this act against lawful people, they also need to be held accountable for that. So, whether it's disturbing the peace or an assault, if there is, um, then that needs to be dealt with. And I think it's just as unfair to the people who were in that store that some sort of accountability um, gets ignored. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to have a conversation about this. And I think that by reaching out to as many people and trying to convince them that the solutions that we have right now are not the ones that we're used to having when we were kids, because the world is different today. But I think that the guidelines are still the same. So let's have that conversation. Let's not accept this type of a peaceful protest, because it's not peaceful. It's not peaceful to trap people. If you took someone and put them in a room and closed the door and wouldn't let them out, I think there are some prosecutors, some place in the United States that would consider that kidnapping. And I don't think that that's right. And I don't think that anybody who has any thoughts about what's right and just could think that's right either. And I'm certain that whoever consummated the notion that this was okay, um, they need to be dealt with as well. So I'm going to ask everybody today to just think back about what they were taught was right and wrong about handling the situation, and comment on that realistically. Be truthful, be honest with yourself. Don't say it's all right to kidnap people. Don't say it's all right to stop them from doing what they rightfully have a right to do. And if the peaceful protesters really want to do something about the injustices that they call systemic racism, they need to find a better method and a better means of getting their points across. So, with that, I would like to tell you all, God bless you, and that's the end of the story.